Which one do you want? Do you want the psychotic conspiracies or do you want this bullshit?
Psychotic conspiracies.
Okay, we'll cover this bullshit
the ongoing
later.
strike forces that are
Oh, they brought a British person. Alex and I had this conversation where I told her, like, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I feel like because of how little power overall American unions have in American consciousness, that like American media doesn't immediately have this like gross antagonism that like the British media has towards their labor action.
Right.
Any kind of labor action in England.
Because they aren't used to really being threatened by it, so they can be kind of like,
exactly.
Sure, this is fine.
So they brought a British person or an Australian one.
We can watch
I guess.
this one instead of the psychotic one. Let's do that.
Okay, here. So this was some gross coverage, typical drive a wedge between working class people as though they are not in identical conditions as it pertains to the relations of the means of production, as it pertains to their bosses not giving a shit about them. Like you think fucking putting forward an undocumented migrant or whatever like that works in a sanitation position in a production, you think that person is getting a good deal from their bosses, the very same fucking bosses? Of course not.
Well, the ongoing strike by the Writers Guild of America is not only
Australian.
affecting movies and television shows, it's also having a significant impact on many behind-the-scenes employees and businesses that are essential to these productions. CNN's Natasha Chen explains from Los Angeles.
Yolanda Sendejas Garcia, a janitor, was laid off from Paramount Studios shortly after the writer's strike began. Fewer productions means less to clean. Nearly 2 months later, she's collecting plastic bottles for cash. She's buying cheaper groceries and says she'll soon lose.
Yeah, they're like, look at these selfish actors.
This should be shame on the studios for doing this to their own employees.
Yeah, it's
this is life and death stakes for that woman, and it is not the workers who wanted this strike.
Yeah, it's like they always conveniently forget that labor action only happens when there are talks leading up to it for months on end, negotiations, back and forth conversations, and labor action that also hurts the very same rank and file members of a union that choose to take this necessary but necessary but also relatively harmful to themselves step, are doing it because the bosses refuse to meet their fucking reasonable ass demands. So it's ridiculous to try to pin the blame here on one side and one side only, when I have said time and time again that if there is a singular individual who could end these strikes, it's never the labor union leaders that are democratically voted on. They literally have to negotiate as best as they can in order to maintain their position within the union. And also those negotiations, the contract that they bring back to their unions, need to be voted in. They need to be ratified through the rank and file democratically voting on it to end the strike. Zaslav, on the other hand, or Sarandos, could single-handedly stop the strikes by saying, yes, we are going to meet your reasonable demands. We're going to give you a better share of the profits that you are generating for us.
Yeah, I mean, and just in closing, I'll say that you look at that video and it's like, the problem is that there are people who have the power to kick this person out of her home or make sure she can't eat, to make writers lose their houses, their apartments, their cars. I mean, this is the problem. And the answer is that those masses of people actually come together and say, you know what, we're done. No more. We won't take it anymore. And when they do that, that actually chips away at that boss's power for every other worker under their employment, right? So yes, everyone is going through a very hard time right now, and the poorest workers are obviously the most affected. So a janitor at Paramount is going to have this affect her immediately in a way that, say, like a middle class actor isn't. But those actors losing does not help her. And also, they are not the ones who wanted to strike. I mean, they even agreed to an extension because they were so certain that they could find a way through, right? Because they're being reasonable. And so I think when I hear this, it's the blame for the immense amount of suffering that is currently happening, especially in Los Angeles, but certainly now even more so with the actors striking, that only should be adding to the sort of the cost on the hands of the owners of these studios, that it's really just more and more shame on them, I would say.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
with that, I'm going to go get lunch and then write an article. So thank you, chat.
Thank you so much for coming on, Alex.
Yeah,
It's AlexPress.
Bye, everybody.
You'll see some of her writing. Where have you revealed that?
No, I won't say the mainstream place, but Jacobin will have an article up that I'm writing today, sometime maybe tomorrow or the next day. And I'm on Twitter. I saw people posting the link.
Yeah.
So enjoy the rest of your streaming.
All right, we'll do. Thank you, Alex. All right. Let's continue watching this incredibly fucking mauling video about how it's actually the fault of the actors that are striking that these people are suffering.
Lose health insurance and worries about buying her diabetes medication. And now SAG-AFTRA has announced an extension of talks over its deal with studios.
Look at that. Look at that. They look at the way they pair those two things up. Like, look at this juxtaposition. SAG-AFTRA, the real villains of this story is the unions and the actors, the rich actors that are fucking selfishly striking. Fuck you guys, man. But of course, CNN is owned by the studios. The same people that own the studios also own CNN. So make no mistake, of course they're going to fucking cover it like this.
While its 180,000 members have already overwhelmingly authorized a strike, these actors could add to more than 11,000 writers already on the picket line and halt more productions.
The few savings that I had are going away. When am I able to work again, or what
That's
am I
crazy.
going to do?
That's crazy. These two concepts are actually married to one another. And yes, these two concepts are related to one another. But the way that they're covering it is so frustrating. It's such an awful way to make this kind of coverage. I hate that. Like, the reporter is basically accusing the other striking workers for single-handedly being responsible for this person's financial demise, when it's her fucking bosses that haven't given her enough of a comfortable nest egg. It's the fact that her sector is not unionized, that doesn't allow her any sort of safety net, that her bosses certainly are not going to give her at times of like economic instability. You know what I mean? But the average American doesn't think about it like this. I don't know how to describe it. Like, it's just, they don't see it. They don't understand it. It's very frustrating.
I don't know.
A lot of stuff, huh?
Mark Meyer Jr. laid off a dozen employees from his set and prop business in early June. This warehouse is usually full of people, buzzing around, loading tables, chairs, lamps into 15 trucks a day. But listen, right now in this 89,000 square foot warehouse, it is quiet.
Now, we're lucky to have one order returned.
King's Deli, down the street from the Warner Brothers lot, is seeing half their business that usually comes from catering for productions. Co-owner Rosie Blosser says even 3 years after COVID-19 began, they've never really returned to normal. Now with the strike,
I'm trying to figure out, what can I do today to keep it going?
Corey Lavelle does not know the answer either.
We're all dying out here.
She says she was forced to move her floral prop business to a new location at double the rent just before the strike began.
We still have the paper tags hanging on the doors that describe whose office it is because they haven't had a chance to completely get set up yet.
She's laid off all but one employee.
Dude, it's so fucked up. Look at the profits of these mom and pop business owners, dude. It's really fucked up. They're dying out here. Hey, why don't you ask their workers if they like that? Why don't you go ask the laid off fucking workers if they enjoy being fucking laid off by their bosses as they work, they toil away every goddamn day with no adequate protection whatsoever? Why don't you ask those workers if they were to have the power to also be able to make serious demands and demand that they get a better return of the profits that they are generating for their bosses, if they would take that deal or not? Of course they're not going to do that. That is precisely the reason why they're covering it this way. This is such a LA-centric topic. Like, honestly, if Hollywood never produces another movie, what will change the world? I am going to kiss myself. I am going to kiss myself permanently. I cannot comprehend how fucking baboon-like so many of you dumb apes are in this goddamn fucking chat. This is supposed to be literally the one fucking community where people are understanding of labor action, no matter which sector it is. And there are still absolute fucking morons in the chat that are like, this is so LA-centric. Like, you're so fucking stupid. First of all, it is a multi-billion-dollar sector. They're quite literally showcasing how it touches every other part of Los Angeles and every other part of California. What would happen if one of these states in this fucking nation that has an economy the size of like most nation states, like the 14th largest economy on the fucking planet. What would happen if it just crippled and went nowhere? What would happen to the millions of Americans that live there? Shut the fuck up, you dumb bitch. You fucking watch movies every goddamn day. You love watching that shit. You love watching that fucking slop. And then you turn around and you sit here and you act like all you do is read State and Revolution all day, every day. That's your only form of fucking entertainment. Shut your stupid fucking mouth up. Billions of people watch movies, okay? Entertainment is an understandable facet of people's experiences, people's lives. Shut the fuck up. You're not above it. And even if you personally don't watch a single fucking movie for the rest of your goddamn life, it doesn't fucking matter. These people are not making movies and going, oh, well, you know, it's subjective. You didn't fucking watch it. You didn't fucking watch the movie, so it's not for you. It's about something more important than that. It is about something that is foundational to how capitalism works. If you consider yourself to be a leftist, you need to understand this, okay? They want more of the profits that they are generating, that their bosses are stealing from them. That's it. The same exact thing can be said for the person that was working at the deli. The same exact thing can be said for the person that was working at the warehouse, okay, that was laid off. They all have the same class interest. They want to work the least amount of hours for the most amount of pay. Their bosses across the board, the side that you hear from CNN, also have the exact opposite interest, but the same in their own class. They want you to work the most amount of hours for the least amount of pay. They want to pay you as little as they can get away with. Okay? Do you understand? This has nothing to do with whether you like the Flash movie or not, okay? I watch mostly anime. You see me going, I only watch anime, and that sector is completely non-unionized, and they fucking basically kill everyone other than like the voice actors that get involved in a project. And so I don't even care if this doesn't happen. Like, no, I don't give a shit. Because it's not about that. It's about understanding that every one of you, because none of you are fucking, you know, corporate landlords or CEOs or executives. Let's be fucking really real. You're mostly workers, and probably not even as highly paid workers as someone like myself, for example. You have more to gain from a situation like this coming to fruition. You have more to gain from grabbing on to corporate power and pushing back and actually clawing back some of those profits that you and others just like you in every other sector is creating for their bosses. This is all that the union action can be reduced to, okay? Oh. God damn it. Have a sense of solidarity. But fuck solidarity. Have a sense of, like, literally your own being. Understand that you are in a similar position. Just because some of the edge cases in that sector are making unimaginable amounts of money and seemingly live like incredible lives doesn't change the reality that the overwhelming majority do not. And you do not. So instead of feeling envy, try to build some mechanism of pushback against your bosses in your workplace. Okay? That's it. The size of the entertainment industry in California is $64 billion. The GDP of Montana is $65 billion. It would be like if Montana and its population just disappeared tomorrow. Yeah, it's ironic. Exactly. Like, why am I covering train worker strikes in the UK or NHS strikes in the UK? I don't benefit from that. Why do I cover it? Because I recognize that internationally, workers of the world have the exact same class interests, okay? When it comes to commodity production, they are doing the same. Some might have better benefits, some might have less benefits, but ultimately, the same exact principle that I just mentioned, the same exact class interest that I just mentioned exists in every sector, in every country. Okay? That's it. So don't come in here and try to fucking instill some kind of like idiotic class division when this is the one fucking place on the internet where you're not going to get the CNN style coverage. Like, shut the fuck up. Jesus Christ. You love solidarity at the top of the hour and complain when I run a fucking 3-minute ad break, even though this time I'm going to run a 1-minute ad break because I accidentally ran a 3-minute ad break in the middle of the hour. You love that shit. You love getting gifted a sub by someone else who is magnanimous and chooses to allow you to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. You love using your, mom's or your dad's or your fucking wife's boyfriend's Twitch, Amazon Prime and connect it to your Twitch account to get 1 free Prime subscription a month to avoid the top of the hour ad break. But when it comes down to it, you're like, oh, I can't see anything outside of my own little nose. Okay, I got horse blinders on. How does this work for me? How does it work for me? Here's the 1-minute ad break now. UPS drivers make a hell of a lot more than any of you, and yet you don't have the same attitude about actors striking. Yeah, well, that's also part of the reason, because there's also this like fantasizing. There's also this like fantasy, the idea that like, these guys they're working in a real sector, right? They're working a real man's job. Whereas these actors are they're gay, they're pussies, they're doing soy pedophilia or whatever. I don't think Brad Pitt needs more money, says Seal Puncher. Shut the fuck up. Don't even fucking don't do that. I know you're joking. Shut the fuck up. Don't make this joke right now. There's people who are unironically saying this shit.
The 100-day WGA strike in 2007 and 2008 caused more than $2 billion in economic damage. The Writers' Union says adjusted for inflation, that means their current strike is costing the economy about $30 million a day.
The overall economic impact is far more widespread across the country than it was last time around.
The Milken Institute's chief global strategist estimates that even outside of California, there will be at least a $1 billion loss this time in major film hubs like Georgia and New York, impacting people never named as part of making movie magic.
We're so below the line, we're below the credits.
That's so funny. Like, yeah, neither do the fucking key grips of the Best Boys. Like, what are you talking about? I hate this. Like, yeah, it sucks. It sucks when an entire sector that's worth $65 billion is shut down, right? It sucks. It absolutely does suck. And then there's also all of the tertiary industries that are like making an additional multiple billions of dollars on top of that. Here's one solution. Make the bosses meet the fucking demands of the workers. That's it.
Or essential nonetheless, waiting for an agreement on a contract.
If you were not in a similar parallel industry, would you still care? Yeah, because I'm so famously in a parallel industry with the railway strikers. I'm so famously in a parallel industry with the fucking striking coal miners that have been striking for 1.5 years. I'm so in a parallel industry with every other fucking union action that I talk about on a daily goddamn basis. Are you fucking stupid? I'm telling you, my understanding of the situation, or teachers, for example, you know what I mean? My understanding of the situation and the reason why I cover this is not because it directly impacts me. If anything, their strikes impact me in a positive way because I'm a non-unionized entertainment provider that doesn't fit the Hollywood prototype. So if there are less content, there's less content to fucking consume, where are people going to go? They're going to come here. The best example of this is fucking COVID. When production shut down due to COVID, what did people watch? They watched Twitch streams. If anything, it's in my best interest that they never get their fucking demands met. I don't understand how you come in here and you're just like literally asking me to spoon feed you the concept of solidarity and empathy, okay? Empathy for your fellow man. Yeah, remember when I famously am in a parallel sector to the potato chip factory worker, you know? Why do you have to be directly related to the strikes in some capacity to cover it? Or were you perhaps trying to have a stupid little gotcha here to say, why do you cover the Hollywood strikes? Why do you cover the Hollywood strikes? Is it perhaps because you yourself are Hollywood? Is that why? Big Egg, thank you for the 5 gifted subs.
Contract they'll never even see.
And action.
Natasha Chen, CNN, Los Angeles.
That was awesome.